Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and if you thought Night 1 was something, Night 2 was something too. It's Wrestlemania 36 Night 2, it's Nitro's takes on my opinions, and a brief review of basically all of the goings-on a very scattershot Night 2 I found from the WWE Performance Center, airing on April 5th, 2020, taped over a multitude of days as Night 1 was during the COVID-19 health pandemic crisis, which, facilitated the current circumstances, as WWE would put it, that we are currently under. So enough of that, let's get into the bulk of the matter. In the pre-show, we see a awesome hype video for the Firefly Funhouse Cena Wyatt match tonight, and another general in-ring action throw by Peter Rosenberg. Unfortunately, I don't think they knew what order that they were going to have the matches on each night. They just knew that, hey, there's going to be pre-show matches, throw to them, and we'll talk about them in a more generalized view, I guess. The pre-show match was Liv Morgan versus Natalya, and Liv looking hot in that black cat outfit, and Tom Phillips solo on the call here. This was a Monday Night Raw branded match. Some sloppy moments early, but they tightened it up as the match went along. Natty went for the surfboard submission, and actually that move seems more brutal when there's no fans, because this was the beginning of something that was fairly evident in Night 2. The screaming and the audible groaning and moaning from the talent in the ring was off the charts. I've wondered if that was just something that was conveyed to them pre-show in a meeting or whatever. But I think that's what pretty well carried across. And now time for the finish. Liv gets the pin after a triple exchange of roll-ups by each woman, and it was an okay TV match, probably the best match that Liv has had since her solo launch in December. The runtime for this was 6 minutes and 25 seconds, so a little bit longer than the pre-show match between Gulak and Cesaro last night, but it was a fairly passable television match. It was something that you'd see in the first hour of Monday Night Raw, and of course the pre-show, and both girls get a WrestleMania payday, so how about that? After the FBI warning, we get the COVID-19 disclaimer again from Stephanie McMahon. This one seemed a little bit more smoother than the one from last night, and the same opening trailer from last night, it's still pretty funny. And we go right into the opening contest, which is the NXT Women's title, Rhea Ripley taking on Charlotte Flair. And this is a historic moment, as this is the first time an NXT title has been defended on any WWE pay-per-view. Ripley in blue and white for her outfit. It was a homage to Dragon Ball Z. Different. I'm not sure if it really works for her character or not. Charlotte dominant early, almost gets a quick decision in the first 90 seconds, but Rhea escapes. Charlotte, I find, is a great heel here and is at her best here. Yeah, Charlotte Flair, you forever think of wrestlers as either a face or a heel as their persona. Like that, that person was a good heel, but they're a better face or something. Or in the case of like Ricky Steamboat or Tito Santana, hey, these guys were face characters their entire run and never heels. And Roddy Piper you think of as a heel. With this one, with Charlotte Flair, I think of her as a better heel than a face, obviously. I think that she has all the qualities to make for a major money-making heel as the years go on for WWE. And Rhea Ripley, it's weird. I think she's a better heel than a face as well. So it's a kind of a meeting of the minds here, but I doubt that we'll see a matchup with them with the same fervor as the initial build for this has had, if you get my drift. The story starts being told about Ripley's knee and Charlotte working on Ripley's knee throughout the night for the figure 8 finisher. It's a hard-hitting battle. However, Ripley does fight back with an electric chair splash mountain, only nets a 2 count. Standing cloverleaf by Ripley, Flair escapes. This is an extremely solid opening match at this point. Flair goes for a moonsault, miss, but hits the spear for, again, another 2 count. But off that, Flair locks into figure 8, and Rhea Ripley taps. New champ, Charlotte Flair. And I saw some upheaval about this on Twitter. This is a pure ratings war move. This denotes that Charlotte Flair is moving to NXT full-time as the NXT champion. You may see her on other programs with the belt, but every Wednesday night, they have Charlotte Flair now. The same deal like they moved down Finn Balor. Same deal like they moved down Tyler Breeze and Fandango or the Fashion Police team for ratings. This is something to try to shore ratings in the war with AEW and try to even the gap and close the gap on them. Pure and simple. That's the only reason this move was made, is Charlotte Flair's women's champion on Wednesday nights. Maybe people are more likely to watch that rather than Nyla Rose on Wednesdays. Nyla Rose, Charlotte Flair comparison there. But, that's what I see of it, at least. Say what you want in the comments below. I'd like to hear your justification for this move, but I purely believe that this is a pure ratings war move. Next contest, Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. Aleister's entrance gear is awesome. My God, what did he kill on his way to the building? And Lashley in long tights. I didn't notice it in his previous matches, but he's gone away from the kind of the boxer brief type tights to a long tights type look, and different looks. So kind of refreshes his look a little bit in there. Black with an amazing moonsault to the outside early on, but then Lashley counters eventually with a power slam, only for 2. And, Lana on the outside with Lashley, she's quiet during this, figured she'd be more vocal, and almost as if, she heard everybody at that point, even though it's a pre-tape, she heard everybody talking about this. Right after all those tweets came out, and I saw that on Twitter, she all of a sudden started getting more vocal and more involved in the match. So now for the finish, Lana yells at Lashley to spear Black, but Black catches Lashley with the Black Mass for the 1-2 free count in a runtime of 7:20. The previous match, the Women's Championship for NXT, Charlotte Flair defeating Rhea Ripley by submission decision, was 20:30. It was an okay TV match. I thought it was a bit of a mix of styles there, and it wasn't really jiving much, but that's kind of the thing. So we didn't cut to an ad that says May 10th, Money in the Bank is the next pay-per-view offering or network special, depending on how you view it, by WWE. I do believe we'll still be in the crisis by then. So that will be in another closed set location, I would think. Maybe at the PC, or maybe they pack up and start shooting elsewhere. I'm unsure exactly at this point, but still a while down there. But this was supposed to be at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, the same arena where AEW Full Gear was last November. However, due to the COVID crisis, I don't see that happening. I think that will happen at either the PC, as it's listed on Wikipedia right now currently, or maybe another location. Maybe they rent studio space in LA or something like that and shoot it there. But May 10th, at least, is the date for the next network special. Next match, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. Glad this made the main card. So does this mean the end of Sonya and Mandy? Fire and Desire. I think that pretty much that casket was nailed shut on Friday on SmackDown with the quote-unquote truth segment, which is rumored to be a brand new character for Mustafa Ali. Kind of a hacker GTV type character, so we'll see exactly what goes on, on SmackDown on Fridays. Anyways, the match starts and Dolph is in control. Then Otis kind of hooks up, a few minutes into the thing. A Caterpillar attempts, but low blow by Ziggler. He attempts the cover, and then this is the finish. But Mandy walks out, jumps Sonya, then low blows Dolph. And then Otis hits a Caterpillar for free. The big guy gets the girl, gives hopes to all us big dudes everywhere. This was an okay TV match. It gave everyone the result they wanted, at least. Saw this on Twitter, that this result probably would have resonated better in a stadium environment. I would have to agree, considering that you'd have about 60,000 plus definitely in Otis's corner, and Ziggler is such a hateable heel that it would really be a decent resonating pop throughout the building. Probably just a earth-shattering pop if we got the free count off of that. Here, it kind of kills not having the crowd, but the reaction was good on Twitter. At least people loved the end of the storyline, and the runtime for that match was 8:15. And the previous match, Aleister Black defeating Bobby Lashley, was 7:20. Last man standing match was up next. Edge versus Randy Orton. Mind games early on as Orton hits an RKO from behind. He's dressed as a cameraman at ringside. Edge gets back to his feet, and then a second RKO. Orton then slams the camera into Edge's face. They head back to the gym area of the PC, and Orton hangs Edge on some chin-up equipment. That was a weird vibe, and a lot of people were calling them out for it, especially with the Benoit Dark Side of the Ring documentary fresh in everybody's mind. They felt that was a very unnecessary spot to go through in that match. Was it a coincidence, or was Heyman looking for shock factor there? You be the judge. Knowing Paul Heyman, I think probably the latter more than the former. That being said, though, they did use the gym equipment for some unique spots. My favorite was Edge doing kind of a falling Meteora / Fez press from the chin-up bar, of all things. Kind of doing some CrossFit stuff, and then basically throwing himself at a seated Orton knees first, which was kind of a very cool visual. I hope somebody grabbed a still photo of that, because that was fairly neat. If they did, you'll see it in the thumbnail. If not, or even here right now in the review. If they didn't, then forget that I said it. The fight makes its way back to ringside, and Edge barely makes his way back up in time after a toss to the barricade. You had to get up after a 10 count. They make their way into the boardroom, and I thought, watching this at this point, that Ciampa and Gargano had a better brawl a few weeks back on NXT in the same environment, but of course that's got a different story being told. This is kind of more quicker than the Ciampa Gargano thing, which we'll see conclude, I think, over the next week or so. This is due to wrap up, maybe this coming Wednesday. Unique elbow drop from the steel cage grating on the roof. This led me to post on Twitter that I have some serious questions about this building, about what's in this building, how this building was designed, all these things. And it just seems like it's got some quirks. That's a little bit, weird. But the brawl into the shipping receiving wing left me with more questions than answers. I just addressed that. Eventually, they brawl to a table and ladder. Orton is placed on the table, and Edge drops the elbow through the table, kind of harkening back to last night's Owens and Rollins spot, except not in the arena, in the backstage. This match, though, at this point, way too long. I think we must have hit about the 20, 22, 23-minute part there, because that could have been the finish, but it wasn't. A draping DDT by Orton onto Edge on the back of a truck. They then fight to the top of an NXT truck, and a spear by Edge. So the draping DDT was done on like a pickup truck bed, and they then continued to fight on top of like a big rig trailer, if you're wondering what kind of trucks I'm talking about here. RKO by Edge, though, after the second spear, but again, no 10 count. So Orton then bludgeons Edge with a chair, but while Orton winds up for a second attempt, Edge hooks the standing triangle choke. You know that submission hold they slapped on MVP some weeks back on Monday Night Raw? Well, he hits it here, and Edge stops the count at 5 to deliver a concerto for the 10 count. Great match, awesome emotion in this thing, but man, that dragged way longer than it needed to be. The runtime is a shocking 36 minutes and 35 seconds. It is too long. It would have been better as a 20 to 25 minute match, but yeah, that match just dragged on and on and on. It just, when you have people like Meltzer online and industry experts saying, yo, this is too long, it's too long. After an advertisement, we get thrown right into a WWE 24/7 title brawl. Gronk kind of jumps from the podium that he's been standing on all night onto everyone below and puts the pinfall on Mojo Rawley and wins the 24/7 belt. So Rob Gronkowski is now the 24/7 champion. Stay tuned to Raw. The Raw tag titles were on the line next, where we have the Young Guns team managed by Zelina Vega of Austin Theory and Angel Garza taking on the Street Profits team of Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. Theory, of course, making his WWE pay-per-view and Mania debut, so he joins a select list in that one. Unfortunately, I don't have the other names, but there are a few that have made their pay-per-view debut at WrestleMania with the company, with WWE. However, the quirk to this is 1 week after making his main roster debut, and I don't think anybody has done this fast in their career. And again, the kid is 22 years old. We'll see if he's just a footnote in history or a start of something going on down the line. Montez Ford is equal to 15,000 fans alone with his energy in the ring. A beautiful plancha by Ford to the outside, and Garza then later on in the match hits an amazing moonsault. Fury looked good in this match, didn't look out of place at all. He hits a TKO on Dawkins, but then Ford hits a frog splash on Fury, allowing Dawkins to roll over for the cover for the 1-2 free count, and the Street Profits retain the belts. Post-match, a 3-on-1 beatdown by Garza, Vega, and Fury, but Bianca Belair runs in and hits the EST on Zelina Vega, so that's maybe a main roster debut with the Street Profits. Of course, Ford and Bianca Belair are a real-life couple, so they have chemistry already, and Dawkins and Ford have chemistry for being tag team partners throughout NXT and that stuff. So I think that if this is the start of a valet tag team relationship, I think it's a great pairing, and I think that they should be able to feud with Zelina Vega's kind of group of quote-unquote Latino and young superstars for a while, as she's got now, I guess, 4 under her tutelage with Garza, Fury, Andrade, and I think that's it. So it's free, not 4, but you get what I'm saying. Up next was the SmackDown Fatal 5-Way for the SmackDown Women's title. Sasha Banks, Lacey Evans, Tamina, Naomi, and Bayley. This was under elimination rules. A double pin early on Bayley and Sasha by Naomi and Lacey, and only 2 led to one of the funniest lines of the night. Cole, they almost got eliminated at the same time doing play-by-play with JBL. Bayley all of a sudden yells out, "No, we didn't," because she rolled out right near the announce desk, and of course, not being any fans in the building, they could hear every single word that was happening. So anyways, after a series of high spots, Tamina is the first individual out of this match. Banks' statement to Naomi sometime later, and we're down to 3. A miscommunication on a running knee by Sasha was supposed to be on Evans, but it ends up hitting Bayley in the corner, and Evans gets a 2 count. But then the woman's right on Evans on Banks sometime later on, and it's down to Evans and Bayley for the championship and the last 2. Bayley drives Evans' shoulder into the ring post for only 2, and then a moonsault by Evans, though, and there's only a 2 count off of that. Meanwhile, Sasha Banks runs back in. She comes back in from backstage, and on the run-in hits the backstabber. And then Bayley hits, I don't think she has a name for it yet, but it's Jeff Jarrett's stroke. It's the Russian leg sweep. It's the forward Russian leg sweep. And a 1-2-3 on Evans. Bayley retains the women's title. The runtime for that one goes 19:20. The runtime for the previous match, the Raw Tag Team Championship match, was 6:20. And, I was surprised by this match. I was expecting it to be a little bit more nutty than it was. Maybe a little bit more disconnected and disjointed considering who was in it. I don't think the 5 of them have the best chemistry, but I think that they were able to really pull off a fairly decent encounter, and especially with the final little bit, it kind of adds another dimension to the Sasha Bayley relationship and that potential feud. So that was really good. announcement. Mania is in LA next year, and a return to March 28th, 2021. I have 2020 here, but March 28th, 2021. And hopefully COVID-19 is not invited. In fact, is deleted. The Firefly Funhouse match was up next. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. It starts in the... I have down here, starts in the RL, and we go cinematic, baby. Yeah, we do. This was another cinematic presentation. Apparently this one was shot by an entirely different group, whereas the NXT crew shot the Boneyard match last night. This was a WWE production crew. No word if this was WWE Films shooting this, or if this was... just WWE's Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown production crew shooting this, like the main roster guys. But it did have a little bit of a different feel to it, whereas last night was kind of more Netflix, Talking Dead, Walking Dead, Sons of Anarchy style action drama. This was more Adult Swim situational comedy. It kind of had that feel throughout it. You see a bunch of jabs at Cena's character throughout the years. You see callbacks, callback to his debut on SmackDown, callback to the Doctor of Thugonomics. You see a callback to the WrestleMania 30 encounter that they had. And then, out of nowhere, a callback to WCW Monday Nitro and the NWO. Another strange callback to 80s wrestling and Saturday Night's Main Event, complete with Animotion. I mean, that was a little bit of a head spinner there. But it runs about 13 minutes. It's a fun little film. It doesn't run as long as the Boneyard match ran last night, but it's still very funny. Where, like I said, last night's was Netflix. This was Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Great job. But both cinematics were great this weekend. So kudos to, Jeremy Borash, if he was spearheading this, Giancarlo Dietmo, if he was involved in this in some way as well, and the rest of the WWE crew to kind of do the behind-the-scenes stuff. They're kind of the people that you see put together those WWE 24 specials on the network and that stuff. But these were the people that were spearheading the Woken Matt Hardy stuff, along with Matt when he was in the company and so on and so forth. So, and of course, Borash was kind of the originator of this current run of this, with the Hardys back in Impact in 2016. So let's face it, if we didn't get, this is how weird wrestling works, but if we didn't get Broken Matt Hardy for Slammiversary of 2016, so many years ago, and that whole deal with Brother Nero and the Hardy brothers at the Hardy compound destroying everything, and Tag Team Apocalypto and that stuff, we probably wouldn't have had cinematic wrestling during a worldwide pandemic crisis where everybody was told to be locked in their home. The final match in the main event spot tonight was the WWE title match. Brock Lesnar taking on the challenger Drew McIntyre, the Royal Rumble winner. Claymore early, but Lesnar kicks out at 2. Brock, though, wears down McIntyre and hits the first F5 of the match, a kick out at 1. A second F5 lands a 2 count. A third F5 lands a 2 count. Lesnar then turns to Heyman, wondering, what do I do? Heyman says, all night long, hit him with the F5s. Lesnar goes for a 4th F5 and gets caught with a Claymore, and this is the 4th Claymore of the match, and that lands, that was the 3rd Claymore, and then another Claymore, the 4th Claymore of the match, lands a 3 count. We have a new WWE champion. It is Drew McIntyre, and the runtime for this one was 4:35. Your standard fare for a Brock match. Big finish, followed by another big finish, followed by another big finish, and build, and then finally result. So nothing really special with the main event, and I think we kind of knew the way that special on McIntyre wrapped up on a network, that it might be leading to a title change this weekend. And I think the fans got what they wanted. I know I got what I wanted, and seeing McIntyre walking out with the belt. So all's well that ends well there, and WrestleMania goes to black right after. Night 2 I felt was a little bit weaker than Night 1. I thought that Night 1 itself really there was no benchmark for this type of stuff. So yeah, it was like, well, what do we expect? And I thought that Night 1 in some places over-delivered and under-delivered in others, but I gave that Night 1 a 7 out of 10. I'll give Night 2 slightly below that. I'll give Night 2 a moderate 6.75 out of 10. Just due to the fact that the Firefly Funhouse match was just zany fun. It was great. It didn't run as long as the Boneyard match, which everybody will probably take out of this weekend as, the thing to watch on the show. Match of the night out of all of the actual matches on this thing, got to try and narrow it down, would have to be, unfortunately, the Falls Count Anywhere match with Edge and Orton. The problem is that match went on and on and on, so I don't want to give it to that one. What else do we have? Maybe Ripley and Charlotte off the beginning, but I didn't think that one was anything more than a fairly solid opening match. Kind of at that pace. It probably would have felt better in an NXT arena environment. But I'll give them the nod for match of the night, Ripley and Charlotte. I thought that they put on a fairly decent, entertaining. What was the runtime on that one again? 20 minutes worth of wrestling content, which was awesome, compared to the 36 that Edge and Orton gave, where you were psyched to see it, and then as it went on and on and on, it was like, oh no, please stop. It's already dead at this point. So yeah, Night 2 drastically weaker than Night 1, but hey, WWE gave us something to watch this weekend. In the midst of everything going on, they gave us something to watch. So that is something to definitely remember out of this. I kind of wish that this event didn't have the WrestleMania name. I kind of wish that they had moved this event to later into the summer and maybe into the early fall, and giving it to Tampa Bay again in another forum, maybe at the St. Pete Titans Forum or something. And kind of making it a deal where, people could go and partake in this thing in person once everything opens up again. But we don't know how long this will be. So they may do with what they had. The old saying is, we were all presented chicken shit, and we made chicken salad out of it. So kudos to everybody on the WWE production staff for a fantastically entertaining 2 nights of action. I'm Kellen Nitro. Put your comments below what you thought of WrestleMania 36. And yeah, let me know on Twitter, here, whatever. And we'll talk to you next time here on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited.